right, we are live. It says something went wrong, and I should refresh the page. So I guess I'll do that.
Okay. And I'm looking to verify that we are live actually. And it's saying the event will start soon, waiting for host to start.
Okay, maybe if I refresh.
Okay. Okay. It is now going.
Now we're good?
Yes. Yes.
All right, good evening. Good to see you, Asa.
You too, Pete.
Yeah, well, we're 1 minute after. Let's go ahead and get started. Do we have so we're live? Do we have anybody in the chat yet?
Not yet, but I see you twice. And I hear echo.
Okay. Oh, lost you.
Okay, I'm
He's
back.
back. Okay, how's my echo?
Gone.
All right. All right, we're in business. Well, we're 2 minutes after. Let's just go ahead and get started here.
Okay,
Uh,
great.
yeah, and anyone watching this later too, there'll be a recording going out. Yeah, we'll keep this pretty short. The goal is not to bore you to tears, death by PowerPoint. We're gonna keep it short and concise. Only the most important things that you need to know. And after don't need to take notes or anything. Afterwards, we'll send you the recording and also execution checklist. So we'll leave our emails up at the end, and you can just shoot us an email, and you can go and apply this stuff really easily in your business to ultimately increase its value.
Okay.
So yeah, we can start off and share a bit about our backgrounds here. I'm Pete Vera. I have a supply chain management and logistics background. That's what I did with the Navy for 8 years. I was a supply officer. Eventually, was put in charge of a $300 million warehouse operation. Had about 40 people under me. And then I went on to become the managing partner at Green Rock Logistics, where we buy or partner with small warehouse-based 3PLs, trucking carriers, and freight brokerages to grow and scale them, and also allow the owner to transition into retirement if they choose. And then now I'm also the host of the Exit Algorithms podcast, where I get to interview the top minds in exit planning, such as our very own Asa Patterson. Asa, you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you, Pete. Asa Patterson. I am a retired Marine captain, so we're keeping the military family together. I was in logistics and transportation as well, but more on the logistics or the transportation side. Had a full motor pool, $5 million in gear, maybe 60, 80 Marines. It different depends on what was going on operationally. And when I got out of the Marine Corps, moved into business development and the financial services sector. Really now taking a focus on working with baby boomer business owners, helping them put systems in place so that when they actually do go to market, they'll be able to get the return on the lifetime that they built developing the business. They kind of what we both do in our pursuit to purchase businesses it actually is relevant here because what we wanted to do is be able to give business owners a understanding of what a buyer is looking at to kind of help them with the mental and physical transition of running and operating the business to selling their business.
Yes, absolutely. It's a match made in heaven here.
Yes.
So excited to get into this. So yeah, today's lesson, we're going to focus on why buyer review matters. So yeah, Asa, why does buyer review matter?
It matters. Well, let's start with Pete saying that the buyer review is looking at a different or looking through different glasses than the seller. And that's what really matters. What we found is that a lot of sellers are looking from their own lens. And that's why we're developing this foundation to help you have a better understanding of why a buyer review matters. Because the buyer is looking at, can this business transfer? Once the owner is out of it, how can I continue to maintain the revenue that was already discussed on the analysis of the business to keep it moving? So it matters to understand the different way a buyer looks at a business compared to the way you look at it as the owner.
Yes, sir, exactly. Yeah, the goal is not to find reasons to walk away from a buyer's perspective. It's just to, exactly like Asa said, to make sure what the buyer is buying matches what's presented.
Yes.
So, yeah, we want to get in this today because you, as a someone potentially selling your business, that it's important to know what the buyer's looking for, so that way you have a smooth process, but also be able to ultimately sell your business for more money. So,
Right.
yeah, we can get into the nuts and bolts of how a buyer reviews a business. The first thing, the biggest thing they'll do is go through due diligence. So for anyone that hasn't been through the due diligence process yet, hasn't tried to sell their business, it's a beast, right? So first, you'd have several conversations with the prospective buyer, get a line on price and terms. You sign a letter of intent, or LOI, which just shows good faith that both sides are going to continue with the transaction. And then you enter into due diligence. So the buyer will hire an accountant and lawyer to come and inspect the business. Yeah, Asa, you want to touch on due diligence?
Wow. Yeah. So due diligence, we're just going to hit the tip of the iceberg here, Pete. But due diligence is where the buyer is verifying and confirming the business is financially sound. The operational capacity of the business is stable and it's clean legally and transferable. So when we say the word transferability, it's really looking at, once the owner is gone, is this business going to continue to produce the revenue that it was producing when they were there? And that is the biggest challenge that we see when we are analyzing businesses, the transferability. Typically, a lot of times the owner has most of the vendor relationships, if not all the vendor relationships. The operational flow of the business is all in the owner's head. So transferability is something that is really important because the buyer wants to know, can this business keep producing income without depending on the owner?
Exactly. That's what's key, right? The buyer wants to make sure they're going to buy an asset that's going to continue to make money once
Right.
the seller leaves. So they'll look at a lot of things like Asa just said. One of them is your customers. How many customers do you have? How much revenue is each customer generating? If a customer has more than 10% of the revenue, do they have contracts in place? If the seller leaves, is he going to take those clients with him? Right? Those
Right.
are all concerns going through the buyer's head that's ultimately going to affect value.
And one of the things on transferability that a lot of owners don't think about, possibly from what we see, is the customer concentration. Pete, can you go into a little more? You said something about 10% of the revenue. Can you break that down as if the listener doesn't really understand what you mean?
Sure. Yeah. So if one customer, say a business makes $1 million in revenue, and one customer it brings in 100,000 or more, that's a big risk from a buyer's perspective, because once you buy the business, if that customer leaves, you're left with much less of a business, right? 9/10 in that case. But some businesses, we talk to, have upwards of 50, 60, 70% of the revenue with one client. Now, when you go up to sell, you need to realize that that's perceived as a massive risk. That's most of the business is with that client. So you need to show the contracts, the main way to prove that the business will continue to make that revenue. Otherwise you can try to make those efforts to diversify the revenue and get more customers over time. But that can take years. So it's important to start early.
Right. And when you're looking at or talking about customer concentration, a lot of business owners thinks that's a great deal. Hey, I have one big customer and they're bringing in the majority of the revenue. It is great from the owner standpoint because logistically they only have one person to deal with and one company to deal with. But from a overall business standpoint, the negative is you only have one customer, right? And the majority of that revenue, if it shrinks or goes away completely, then the projections and financial overview of the business is significantly damaged due to that one customer not being there. So, for you sellers or you current owners, customer diversification is something that is very important when it goes to you selling a business. When you're thinking about financing, just to go a little deeper in the transferability, with customer concentration being on two or three customers, SBA financing and bank financing looks at that as a significant negative because of what we're discussing. That customer could change his business or for whatever reason go out of business, get into some legalities or something like that, and their business now significantly impacts your business. So just one thing to think about as a owner, how can you diversify your customer base so that the majority of the income isn't with one or two customers?
Yes, that's exactly right. Got a little echo there. There we go. Yeah, and that leads right into our next point. Risk premium. What that is a discount the buyer will give on the business because they perceive the business purchase as higher risk.
Right.
So businesses that can easily answer and show transferability will be able to ultimately command a higher selling price.
Right, right. And when I hear or see the word risk premium, I think of a discount, right? The discount is when a buyer feels the business is more risky due to customer concentration or due to not having systems in place. That is when the buyer starts looking at concessions and discounts on the price. So that's actually a negative for you business owners because we're, as a buyer, are looking to reduce our risk as much as possible. And the risk premium is something that we're looking at to say, hey, based on these challenges in the business as I become the new owner, I'm looking for you to discount it accordingly.
Exactly. Yeah, I think it's useful to maybe do a little thought experiment. So imagine you're a business owner. You're considering buying a smaller business, bolting it on to your existing business. Basically, you see a business that has complementary services or customers, and it'd be great to combine forces and go and buy that business. Say you're looking at two businesses. They both have the same profits, same price, same basic customer layout. They're both pretty attractive, right? But business A sends clean, professional package with really quick. They get back to you in 2 days. They give you everything you asked for. 3 years of clean, siloed P&Ls, tax returns, balance sheets, organized contracts. They're squared away, right? Then you look at business B. Even though it's the same profits, same price, they take a couple weeks, right? And then they send you half of what you asked for. It's pretty messy. The P&Ls and the tax returns don't match up, and they can't really tell you why. There's nothing really, no consistent answers or contracts. It's probably an obvious question. Which business would you consider more trustworthy, or it could transfer to you easier?
Business, the first one, right? The first one, they get right back to me. They have, the longer it takes a seller to get information back to me, the more I am questioning how much they really know about their business, right? So I'm going with business A because they're able to give me everything I asked for within a couple of days, which is understandable that they are running their business. But if it takes a week or longer to give me some information about the business that they are running and trying to sell, I'm really going to question everything more deeper, more deeper.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And then, ultimately, the business A with that's has everything ready to go and clean financials, can show transferability. It's going to be able to command a higher asking price.
Right.
Uh, and that's what this visual represents. It's very basic, but if you haven't sold a business before, typical industry standard is to base it off of a multiple of profits, or EBITDA. So a business that can show, that you have a lot of trust in, will command a higher multiple of EBITDA versus a business that's not put together, has crazy sloppy books. That's going to maybe get only a 2 to 3 times multiple of their profits.
So let's break that down even further. All right. So I'm going to assume that a listener may not understand what EBITDA is. Okay. So EBITDA is broken down to mean earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. So all those numbers go together. EBITDA shows the operating earning power of a business before the cost of debt, taxes, and certain accounting adjustments. So this scale here is showing businesses sell at a multiple of that EBITDA of that number. So let's say for this visual example, the business EBITDA is 500,000. Okay, so we're going from low trust all the way up to high trust. A business with high trust will sell at a multiple of that 500,000. So let's say that line there is 6. So this business is selling at a multiple of 6. So 500,000 times 6 is $3 million. Based on the high trust of the documentation provided and everything being in place, that business can sell for 3 million. But if you have that same business where trust starts to deteriorate, the multiple goes down as well. So you see there, the low trust brings the business valuation down to a 3 times multiple, half. So now the business is only worth 1.5 million due to the seller or the owner not having everything in place. So it really makes a difference as to the level of trust that a buyer feels about the business, because it can be half of the valuation that you really think the business it could be worth, but because documents aren't in place, you go from a high trust business at 3 million to a low trust business to 1.5, and that is significant when you're talking about someone's retirement and their future after they sell.
100%. Yeah, great example. Really takes it home there. Doing your homework and doing all the work to prepare your books and get contracts in place, diversify your revenue, make your business less dependent on you. All those little steps can result in millions of dollars more when you come to exit.
Right,
So
right.
yeah. So yeah, I know we're up on time here. Wanted to keep it short, under 20 minutes. We're right at on track. So feel free, please send us a quick email if you want the recording, and we'll also send you a free execution playbook so you can apply this lesson to your own business in a quick, easy way, and know what to do to increase its value when you go to sell.
So
Asa, you got anything to
yeah, I
add?
want to add, if you know a business owner, if you're a business owner, please share this with someone that you know and love that owns their own business, because this information they may not be aware of, and it's just going to help them be more prepared for whenever they do think about stepping away from the business, selling, or even passing it on to family. So please share this video. We're going to be coming back with a lot more data that will hopefully put your loved one or your business partner in position to be able to maximize the profits instead of a low trust situation, being a high trust situation where you can maximize the sales price of your business.
Exactly. Yep. Great point. And next month we're gonna get even further. We're gonna dive deep into what financial readiness means and what a buyer's looking for in a business to show that they're financially sound with their EBITDA, their accrual-based accounting. We'll touch on what debt service coverage is when it comes for a buyer taking out a loan. All that good stuff. So stay tuned. Some probably third week next month. We're narrowing down a date, but we will notify you over all the socials like we did this one.
Yes, indeed. All right, Pete, man, I appreciate the time.
Yeah, it was a great one, Asa. Good chatting with you as always.
All right. See you guys on the next one.